So the first tip for today is how to be in control of this entire scenario. It starts with looking at the experience we individually want to feel or have, and how can you then take that learning into your workspace. The first thing first is that we actually control how we react to whatever circumstances that we face. So all we've got to do now is to figure out how do we actually control our reactions and the way we respond to a scenario. The word that comes in over here is called choice. We individually choose how we react to what is facing us. The way you choose leads to how you think about the actions you're going to take, and then you take the action. So let me rewind. When you're faced with a scenario and it's worrying you, pause for a moment. Look at what are the workarounds available. Look at what do you need to know. Do not immediately jump into an action or a thought, because what that does is it's the first filler, as we call it in our thinking process, that brings in the what if scenario. So to get into control the choice you're going to make. You face the environment, you look at what's happening, become aware of what's going around, what do you need to know, what are the resources you have, chunk it down into small little bites, and look at what is it that is really the issue and what do you need to do. So you move out individually from being reactive or giving a reaction to actually controlling that little bite of the issue into a proactive action. What this does is the behavior and the action that you take will then create an experience that you individually want to have, which means you're controlling the outcome. And by controlling the outcome, you're actually getting into control of that situation. I must add here that it won't be as easy as I am speaking it out to you. But as we know, with practice, everything becomes easier. So give it a shot. First, chunk your problems down, look at it into micro bites, small little areas, look at the small issue or the problem at hand, create a workaround, and then focus on that workaround. Be aware what requires to be done. Look at the resources you have within yourself. Think. Choose effectively. And that's where you are putting yourself into control. Exactly in the same way, now that you've put yourself in the control of reacting to the scenarios, take this process to work. And what happens at the work? There are two critical sets of examples that need to be controlled or delivered within one's control. These two work experiences are usually known as the employee experience or the customer experience. The word experience is the one that's common between both. So now, as a business owner, as a senior professional, as a team leader, when you get in with your team people, with your employees, to get in control of these two experiences from a work perspective, revisit what is the experience employees are feeling. Experience is a feel. Experience is not logic. It's an emotional behavior, if I may put it this way, an emotion that occurs within our brain thinking patterns. So revisit what is the experience employees are having at this point in time. As a leader, as a business owner, as a senior professional, look at the areas of function that you can actually delegate and create empowerment to your teams. Sit down with your teams, talk to them honestly, frankly, candidly, to say, this is what you want to do, this is the choice you're making, and why you're making that choice. Because you trust your team, they can deliver, they have the expertise. Communicate that to them. What happens is that when you communicate this, automatically as a business owner, a professional, a team leader, you are communicating trust. And when you communicate trust, there is a bonding that occurs between your employees, your teammates, and yourself as a leader. And this is very important for the experience the employees actually start feeling. Now, Having done what you've done to control your choice, you can share exactly the same process, how each employee can do it. And this is a beautiful way that you can have a 30-minute to a 45-minute simple conversation online with your team, just talking about this whole exercise and actually taking their suggestions on board. Yes, I will warn that right at the beginning, you would have some reticence and some resistance. And that's only because as human beings, whenever something is out of our comfort zone or out of our norm, our initial reaction is to not do it. But prevail. Calmly and politely explain the steps to them. If necessary, use this video once more and show it to them. But explain how you are delegating and empowering them for them to take their decisions. And the decisions they take will then go out into the second area, the most important area in business and in work, which is the customer experience. And you get to be in control of how the employees and the customer feels that experience. So let me recap this a little bit succinctly. Individually, you create a way in which you choose to control the minor scenario, issue, or problem you're facing. The choice you make takes into account the resources you have, you're aware, takes into account your adaptiveness or flexibility in doing a workaround or overcoming that little issue. In the same way, when you start with your employees and your teams inside at the workplace and in your business, the first thing to do is to have this conversation to say, this is what you're giving them, you're empowering them to take the right choices. And how do they make the right choices is the process that I just recapped. Having done that, and why should they do it, is because the choices they make on their work roles is going to impact on how their customers and their stakeholders externally that they react with and interact with are going to feel what the business and the brand gives out as an experience. This is very, very critical because this is where you are actually being in control of what you want both your employees and your customers to feel. And by controlling, maybe it's a very hard word, and I'll say influencing the experience you want to feel, you are driving the outcome to a desired result that you want. That's the third point of being adaptable. Be in control. So when you're flexible and you're aware of what's happening around and you've identified the resources that you need, you start with individual choice, which brings you from reactive to proactive. And when you choose, you get in control.